This would be a good opportunity for us to talk about any real life ghost stories that we have.
And as they're like talking to him, like we're all in the living room and they're telling, like they're just reading the Bible, and like you just like from a distance you start seeing someone noticed it. I think it was my aunt. Like it starts moving and like there's no breeze in the house.
One time she was just cleaning the house. She said she was alone and she looked out the window and she said she saw a man dressed in military uniform, but that he was kind of like, he didn't look real. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the Untapped Potential Podcast. We're coming right in with the Roundtable Talk, and we got a very special guest. You might remember him from season 1. We got Visualsubject in the building. What's going on, bro?
Welcome, bro.
Just happy to be back, man. Thank you guys for having me again.
Yeah, man. You're pulling up with the flyest hat in the world. What's going on, man?
So much slice. Had to get ready, you know, we're Untapped Potential, so.
Yes, sir.
I'm with it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
And he
man.
got the shoes to match too. Look at you, man.
Got some hoodies on my feet.
Those are some fly
Yo,
shoes.
let's talk
Can we
about
see
that
that
real
on the
quick.
camera? Oh yeah, we can.
Can you?
Yeah, pull it up. Pull them up on the table. Yeah,
I
there
have
we
never
go.
seen sweater shoes.
I haven't either.
Sweater slippers.
shoes.
Shout out my girl's mom.
We
They're
got a little
comfy.
hoodie pocket and
Yeah.
everything in there. Yo, that's dope.
They're comfy.
Yeah, man. But how you been?
I've been good, man. Just been laid back. Just kind of still doing the photography, obviously. Taking a break from it. Been working at Amazon right now. But yeah, just grinding, man. Yeah.
That's what's up,
Mhm.
man. Yeah. And so, man, it's been a while since we last interviewed you. About a year and a half ago,
Yeah.
we were on the table. It was crazy, man. A complete different scenery for us. We've grown a lot. I'm sure
Yeah.
you've grown a lot in your photography.
Yeah.
Catch us up.
Oh, well, since then, just was still working with Macintosh, obviously, so doing some photos, doing things with music with Young Bree. But yeah, since then, just been like I said, I took a break from it and then just started working with Amazon. But I'm still doing it, like kind of like a little less right now, but you know, still.
Yeah.
doing it, yeah.
Any wild stories since we last chatted?
Yeah,
Since
you had
that
a
other one?
crazy one last time about like a gun being pulled out and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, nothing can top that, but there has been one. I think it was last summer we were with Macintosh in Tri-Cities, and we were filming like at a restaurant bar, and we had a drunk guy just kind of like pacing back and forth, wanting to like kind of see what was going on, and just kind of being a dick. We had women on set because it was like a scene like with Mac being on a date, and he saw the women that he was trying to flirt with them, and then he was asking them like, "Oh, can one of you guys give me a ride home?"
Wow.
And it was Frick and I. Frick and I were there, Justin Frick and I. And we were just like with the gear waiting for Mac to get there. And he just kept being annoying. We're like, bro, you got to leave. We're on set. We're working. He's like, well, I'll give you guys $300. Like, let me just give me a ride.
Wow, man.
We're like, no. So then when Mac gets there, we're telling him the whole situation. Like, hey, just a heads up. Like, there's this guy that keeps coming back. We told him to leave already. And he's all like, well, just let me know. And like, let's just get through it. Let's just be professional. Like, I don't got time for it. As we're filming, he comes back and he's like interrupting the set, and I can tell like Mac is kind of getting annoyed. And
yeah,
he
because
tells
he's
him,
paying for it.
well, yeah, he's paying for it. And he tells him politely, he's like, "Hey, bro, can you just like leave? Like,
Yeah.
you know, we're doing something on set."
Hold up. On a scale of 1 to 10, how drunk was this guy?
Oh, this guy was shit faced, bro. He was day drinking too. So think about that. I guess like you've been drinking since like the bar opened,
Oh,
Oh,
and just pacing back
wow.
and forth, just being annoying. And I'm telling Mac like, dude, like this is just. He's just wasting everyone's time right now. And he ends up saying, I think something was towards his girl or one of the women on set. And Mac just like got annoyed and like just goes up to him. And like the guy starts talking shit to him. And Mac's just like looking at him. And he just packs him, just hits him just straight jaw. And the funniest thing, I've never seen someone punch someone and then give him like a lecture. As the guy's falling, he's like, this hurts me more than it hurts you. Like, I didn't want to do this. Like, but you made me do this. He's like, I was being polite with you, but like, this is the last thing I wanted to do. And the guy's just kind of like, whoa, like, what just happened? And everyone at the bar is like, what the fuck?
Well, man.
And then
he
they
was
just
asking for it.
Seriously, and Mac's like, man, like, this is what I didn't want. He's like, but it is what it is. Like, all right, let's go. Let's get this next shot. Like, it didn't happen. We're just
and y'all
like,
just kept
shit.
it moving.
We kept it moving. The guy just like, they took him out, left, but just, yeah, man.
That's funny.
Shit,
Was this
man.
like an open bar situation where like the venue
So-
wasn't reserved, so there was just other people coming in and out of the bar?
Yeah, so it was
Okay.
kind of, think about like the setup, like the bars in the back, and then they're like the restaurants in the front. So there's like a hall that leads
Okay.
to the bar, but that guy just kept coming back and forth. And we were filming in a booth. Like it was set up because it was like Mac was on a date, right? But the guy just kept coming back, like little remarks, just being annoying, and we were all just getting tired of it. And you can tell like it's been a long day. We've been shooting all day. When you're on sets, like it's just a long day in general. So everyone's just kind of like, yo, let's just get through this.
Yeah, people get cranky, man.
So then that guy, he's just like making it harder for us. So Mac's like, I was gonna put him to sleep real quick.
That's funny, man.
Boom, 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 boom. I was like, damn, bro.
At the end of the day, you guys are at work, right?
Yeah.
And like, this guy's interrupting your work, so it's crazy. Did that work though? Did he actually leave?
He left, bro. He actually came back and apologized. So I respect him for that.
Wow,
I was like,
big man.
It took a little reality check, but
Shout out to him.
Yeah.
it's because like, bro, like you said, we're in a professional setting, and like it's just not cool, like to be doing things like that. But
yeah, I mean,
we laughed about it after though. It was funny. Like I think I called Mac like a week after. I think he was with a friend. He's like, hey, tell my boy the story about the guy that I hit. He's like, you tell it really well, this and that. We were just talking about it. But yeah, that's the last thing, like the last crazy thing that's happened.
Yeah,
But,
man.
Damn,
Speaking of like punching people and stuff, man, Nate Diaz, you know, he recently, you know, won his fight. Chris actually told me a story that he ran into Nate Diaz at a spa, man. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
bro.
How'd that happen?
Yeah, it was so it was 2017, like a couple months after he fought McGregor for the second time. And I was in Vegas for a bachelor party.
Oh wow.
And we were at the Palms, and there's like a second building to the Palms where like the spa and the condos are all there.
Yeah.
And so the bachelor party was at the spa, and I was waking up late. I was still a little hungover, so I was getting there a little later. And I went into the lobby of this second building where the spa is, but I didn't know where it was. I was kind of lost. And so I went into the lobby, and I went in to like ask the receptionist or whatever, like, hey, you know, where's the spa at? And as I'm like finishing talking to her, like I turn around, and there's this dude that like was crouched behind a chair next to a plug. It looked like he was charging his phone.
Oh.
And all of a sudden he got up, and it kind of took me by surprise, bro. I was like, at first I looked at him and I recognized him instantly. I was like, oh shit. That was the first thing that came out of my mouth.
You said that out loud?
I said that out loud.
Oh, man.
I was like, oh shit. And then Nate Diaz turned around, and he's like, you could tell he's like a little smug. And and at first, because I've been watching UFC for a while,
Right.
and when I was younger, Nick Diaz was actually the bigger guy, like his brother.
Right.
He was like the it guy, the fighter. I almost called him Nick Diaz to his face, bro. I was like, that's, and then I was like, yo, you're him, bro. You're him.
You're that guy. You're that guy.
Totally fanboying out.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah,
I can see him doing that.
Did he tell you real G's come from California, America?
Oh man, that's hilarious.
Yeah. I was like, yo, can I take a picture with you? He's like, yeah, man, it's cool. And so we ended up taking a picture with him.
Yeah.
I'll put it up on the screen in the video. But anyway, I was like, okay, cool. I'm like, I don't want to bother this guy anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
And I want to play
You
it
don't
off.
want to get punched. Like McIntosh punched that guy.
Right. Like I didn't want to piss this guy off, because I mean, this is the baddest in the world, right?
Real.
And anyway, I go to find like the guys at the bachelor party in the spa, and I go up the elevator. Coincidentally, Nate Diaz goes up to the elevator with me. And we get off on the floor where the spa is. But at the time, I didn't realize he was going into the spa. I thought he was just kind of going like, because there was other like rooms and stuff on the floor.
Right.
And so he kind of went one way. I like went another way trying to find this thing. Couldn't find it. Went all the way around and finally found like the entrance to the spa. And I go in, I check in. I go into the locker room, and I see the group of guys. And I go up to him. I was like, bro, you won't believe who I just saw. Like, you won't believe who I just saw. I told these group of guys, and they're all silent. And I'm like, why are you guys silent? And they're like, I think we know. And they point to the corner of the locker room, and it's Nate Diaz changing in his towel, bro, in his robe. I was like, bro, I just fanboyed the second time in front of Nate Diaz.
Did he turn around and give you like that look? Like...
Yeah. No, he turned around. He tried to play it off like he didn't hear me or whatever. But
He's like, I'm him. That's me.
And so, long story short, we go into the spa. He ends up going into like the hot tub, like cold tub area. And we end up seeing him there. And he goes like, for a while, he goes between the hot tub and the cold tub back and forth.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
And he was like doing that for a couple minutes, and we end up just like talking to him, bro. He's super cool. He's a super cool guy. You would almost think at that time he was retired, the way he was like talking about like his like what he's trying to do, because he was like still coaching in his gym in Stockton during that time, and he didn't like, he has other businesses and stuff like the marijuana business, but he didn't have like any other fights planned out. Like we were talking to him like, hey, like, you know, who are you gonna fight next? He was like, man, I'm just chilling right now. Like he was in no rush to get back
Just
into the
kicking it,
octagon,
yeah.
bro. So yeah, it was a cool experience, man. It was
He's
cool.
far from retired though, man. He still got it. That
Right,
fight
for
that he
real.
just had, submission.
Oh, for sure.
Did you see that where it ended? Like Joe Rogan was saying, like, man, I'm in a simulation. Like he finished him and the timer said 209.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dude,
He
that's
finished him on the submission.
crazy.
That's insane.
You
Yeah.
think he planned that, man?
It's a
It's
simulation.
crazy
We're in a
enough to do
simulation.
that.
I don't know about that, but shit,
Yeah.
man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But that's
sure he
cool,
can still
man.
fight.
That he actually like chopped it up with you guys and actually had a conversation. I feel like most people like of that caliber, especially a fighter, would probably just be kind of cold and just be like, bro,
Yeah.
like I'm chilling right now at a spa. Like I'm not trying to talk. Like,
Yeah, I
See.
mean, you have so many people coming up to you all the time.
Right.
Like you just kind of want to have time to yourself, and
Yeah.
that's why you would want to go to spas to relax, right? But yeah, this dude was super cool, man.
yeah.
It's
'Cause,
always
like,
a good experience, like meeting someone too that like you look up to. You're always like, whether like a fighter like that or someone else. Like when you just get that like one-on-one with them, like it's a good
Yeah.
experience when you get that little like time, that run in. Like man, I remember that forever.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. That's crazy, man. Have you met any celebrities during your time?
I have the one that really stood out to me because I'm a really big fan was Larry June.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, like shout out to Girls Love Trey, R.I.P. to him. He was a videographer for Larry June, and he introduced me. He's the one that got me in the first time to like meet them and stuff.
Oh, cool.
But he was a good dude, very humble, very funny. Just laid it back to himself, like just like if you're hanging out with homies, it's literally like the vibe. It's
Yo, that's
just nice,
dope.
yeah.
I-
Love someone.
That's the impression I get, like just listening to his music. It's just like a
Yeah.
chill, cool dude. Probably smokes a lot, you know.
Yeah, drinks a lot of orange juice, just kicks it. Yeah.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, man. Speaking of Larry June and his music, man, what are your guys' like top albums of 2022 so far?
Oh, it's a good
Ooh,
one.
it's a
You want me
good
to go
one.
first?
Yeah, you
Alright,
go
go
first.
for it,
Since
yeah.
you're the
So the
guest.
top albums so far that I've had in rotation that I think are really good would be Larry June's The Spaceships on a Blade, Brent Faiyaz's Wasteland, Kamaya dropped a good one, Divine Timing. That's literally I think the only three that I've really been like cycling through. Yeah.
Yeah,
What
I
about
like
you,
those.
Chris?
Definitely Kendrick Lamar. Like at the
Oh
very
yeah, I
top.
forgot
Oh,
about
yeah.
that one.
Very,
That's
very
yeah.
top. And I know a lot of people don't like with it because it's not like club music or you can't dance to it. But I mean, he did a lot of stuff in rap that normal people wouldn't do. Like talk about, you know, his transsexual uncle and all that.
Right, yeah.
So
That whole father time too, just kind of like giving that like breakdown of like men that are like healing or dealing with that, like not
Right.
having a dad around, like
cheating on his wife.
cheating on his wife. That whole track, which one was the one where like it's him and a girl just arguing? What's the name of the track?
I know exactly which
Ooh,
one you're talking about.
They just dropped the
actually-
visual for it too.
The visual, yeah, that was
What
actually
was
really
it
cool.
called?
I Hate You? No.
Nah.
Something like that though.
That was that like just the song itself when you heard it at first, like just a great performance, lyricism, and then you see the visual, how it's like all the one take. So they're like
Oh,
they're
yeah.
literally acting through that whole shot. It's like a 2-3
Right.
minute song. Yeah, that's a good,
That's
really
tough
good
to
song.
pull
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the behind the scenes of those where like there's people in the background like
Yeah.
moving shit around?
It's
and stuff?
crazy. Like you have a whole team. Like it's obviously the setup with the camera and like they're just moving you around, like making sure you don't bump into stuff or like when you're going. It's just crazy. Like that whole
Yeah.
one take. It's
That's
It's a lot
crazy.
Think
of
about
work.
that. Having to like for 3 minutes of acting, just staying in character. Like you can't. There's no
Yeah.
angle switch. It's just dead on.
And
Yeah.
videography wise, you know, I guess like cinematography wise, like you
Yeah.
could really appreciate that, you know, as a videographer, photographer yourself.
That's the thing. I kind of hate it because I can't enjoy watching like TV shows or like movies and stuff because I'm always breaking it down, like seeing like the angles, the lighting, or like what they're doing. It's like like camera switch right here, like this type of lighting, and it's just crazy. Yeah, it's a lot. I'm like always breaking down everything.
It kind of ruins videos for you. to
Yeah,
an
it
extent,
does.
huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
really, yeah.
What about you with albums?
Man, I gotta say for sure, number one, Kendrick's
Yeah.
album for sure. So I agree with you there. My music taste has been all over the place this year. I've been bumping The Boy's new album. Can't remember the name off the top of my head, but it came out a few months ago. That's kind of my go-to gym stuff. I've been listening to a lot of Cali rap.
Bay Area in general.
Bay
yeah,
Area
bro. Yeah.
for sure. Yeah. and Joey Badass's album that just
Oh,
came
yeah.
out recently, man.
2002
2000.
or 2000.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2000.
That for me was a real like nostalgic album because when 1999 came out, I was like a junior or a senior in high
Mhm.
school.
Oh yeah,
And
it
you
was a
know,
while.
I don't know if you guys are the same way, but those albums that came out like when you were a junior or senior in high school, like I feel like those are albums you're gonna appreciate forever because it was
Mhm.
just like such a pivotal, life-changing, time. You're about to make a big transition. And that's what 1999 was for me. So 2000 kind of closed the loop. And I really feel like he went back to his roots on that
With their
album.
beats and everything, the beat
Yeah.
selection, just the stuff
Mhm.
that he's talking about. That song Cruise Control on there was
Oof.
really great. I think that he mentioned it in an interview. That was his favorite song too. Just a very laid back, just kind of literally cruise control. You're just cruising to it. The beat he used, like the flow that he's like rapping on this cadence, is just it works. Yeah.
Yeah, you could tell he was really like in his pocket
Yeah.
during that album. He was really comfortable. But I don't know. I kind of got a hot take on album, guys. Like on albums in general.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like albums are kind of dying down. And I don't know if it has to do with like people's attention spans kind of being so spread thin with
Mhm.
so many different, social media and all this stuff. But I kind of feel like singles have been catching my attention more. Or like if I find an artist, I'll just find certain songs I like of them and I'll
Right.
bump them, but not
Mhm.
necessarily like listen to a whole album all the way through unless it's like a Kendrick or someone that like I've been listening to for a while.
Like you've
Yeah.
been waiting, like that anticipation has been building for that artist's
Yeah.
album. But yeah, I agree with you because it's that whole Russ blueprint when he's talked about it and it works.
Yep.
Like he's
That's true.
not only like is he talking about it, it's worked for him, and he's the singles like he's always talked about like on SoundCloud when he realized like these albums aren't streaming, but like if I drop a single like that's like its own album, and just when he kept doing that every week, it started putting numbers on the board. But yeah, singles are is what everyone's like really like tuning into because
Yeah.
think about the game
Yeah.
with that 30 like track album. Like when I
That's
saw
a
the
lot,
track list,
bro.
I was like, man, this feels like a lot. I was already
Yeah.
dreading like listening to it, and to me that was one of like the worst albums that came out this year, too, so,
Yeah, for sure. But question, were you a Game fan before
I
that album
was.
came? Like a big Game
Not
fan?
big, but like you know who the Game is. You understand what he's done for
For
hip hop
sure.
and just like LA in general. Like that whole documentary was like classic, certified
Mhm.
classic.
Oh, for sure.
Mhm.
So then when he kept saying like this is my best album, about to go back to like all this, and I was like, man, like he's gonna have like documentary, like everything just, and it just let me down,
Yeah.
man.
It's a little bit of a letdown. I felt like that way with Donda too.
Donda 2, I like Donda 2.
You like Donda too?
Not well Donda, just Donda in general. I haven't
Yeah.
listened to Donda 2.
Okay.
Yeah, but
All right.
I
Yeah.
like Donda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. I feel like and same way with like the Eminem album a little bit too. I don't know if you guys heard that one yet, but
I didn't think I got through it, honestly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I'll be honest. I stopped listening to Eminem after he dropped like Recovery.
oh yeah.
So that was a
Yeah.
minute
As soon as he
ago
got sober,
now.
man, it just got worse. The
Yeah.
music, man.
Yeah, for sure. I think, as we grow too, our music tastes evolve and stuff.
Right.
And, if the artist just can't keep up, it's tough now. But
Yeah, man.
yeah, man.
Who were some artists like albums that dropped that you guys felt like wasn't it? Like you guys were like waiting for it. Now that we're on
Yeah.
music,
That's a good question.
I feel like every summer DJ Khaled has a couple good songs, but I can't
Mhm.
listen to the whole thing.
I just don't like him like screaming throughout the whole album. Like, dude, shut up,
Yeah.
bro. Like we get it.
Like it gets a little annoying in that, and like I feel like the other tracks that there's probably like 2 or 3 tracks that like I'll probably listen to more than once,
Yeah.
but the rest of the stuff is just kind of like throwaways for me, you know.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris, you didn't believe.
But God did.
God
God
did.
did.
It's funny, man. But you know what? DJ Khaled, we got to give him his flowers because he's a marketing genius.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
He was dropping this
100%.
little God did stuff like months before the album came out, so he drops his little hints. He's got a great blueprint and he's got the connections and he knows what artists go well on tracks. But I feel like it's almost so good, like almost so perfect that it just sounds almost too commercialized, at least for my taste,
Too
where I'm at
corporate.
this point.
Mhm.
And that's just my opinion.
Mhm.
Do you
know?
feel like the Jay-Z, the track that had Jay-Z on it, needed Lil Wayne and Rick Ross? You think Jay-Z would have been good on his own? Did you guys like the version? Yeah.
It was like I said, it was so good. It was almost like too good. You know what I
Mm.
mean? It was
Is
like,
it almost like why was it on this album? Like why wasn't it something Jay-Z would have done on his own?
yeah,
or-
exactly.
It's like,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'm sure at the end of the day, it comes down to like, business, right?
Yeah.
Like DJ Khaled probably gets a certain percentage of something and they work out a
Yeah.
deal, but that's just me speculating. I have no idea.
Yeah, No way, no idea how the industry works.
Yeah, but you know what album? Because your question was what album was just kind of a flop this year.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, man, because I was really rooting for this guy like a lot. I've been listening to him like before he went like super mainstream. Jack Harlow, that album that he dropped this year. I don't know. There was a lot of hype about it. You know, he did that. I think like Fergie sample, right? And he had that whole like
was it the
glamorous?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like they were doing the I've been throw up the that was all over TikTok, all over social media and stuff. And then the album dropped, and it was just a lot of songs that I don't know. There was just no replay value. It was a good album, but that was it.
I forgot who it was. I don't know if it was Charlemagne or someone saying like it almost seemed like he just recycled the tracks, like because his first album was great, man. Like that freshman album, and then like what he did, like the sophomore album, it just felt like too repetitive, almost. Like he was just like, like let me just throw these together, put it out there. But because the only song that I do remember from that album is the glamorous one.
Yeah,
if that's what it's even called, I don't even know. But
yeah. But to your point, I feel like at some point there's an artist level that just their music becomes commercialized. You know, it kind of loses that uniqueness, and they try to appeal to a wider market.
Yeah, it's sad, but you know, I'm sure they're getting their money out of it.
Oh,
which is good for them. You know, they've worked so hard, and you know, we know how this goes. You know, you as a photographer, us as podcasters, you start off, and we were talking about this earlier. You do it for free at first. You know, I'm sure all artists do that, and then you know you start finding ways to monetize your craft, and then you know, I guess the ultimate spot to be at as an artist is go commercial. That's where you get the big bucks. But you know, for fans that have been around for a while, they'll see that change and kind of leaves a sour taste. But
it's kind of it's always weird, like how artists, like when that artist is coming up and their fans, like they just want to keep them in the tuck, like we got them, like no one knows, and it's like we fuck with them, we love them, and then like they want them to blow up, but until they blow up, and it's like, man, like you changed, and it's a never ending cycle, man.
Yeah, it sucks because your biggest fans in a way become your biggest haters.
Right, that's true. Yeah, but you have to evolve at some point.
Yeah,
you know,
can't stay the same.
Natural for human beings.
Yeah, the real ones will stick around.
Yeah.
What do y'all think? Speaking of evolving and things changing right now, man, one trend that I've been noticing is there's a lot more Latinos in media, Latinx, whatever we want to call it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's really cool because for me personally, growing up, I really did not see a whole lot of, people with my background on TV,
Right.
And I mean, growing up, I grew up early 2000s, like there wasn't YouTube and stuff. So it was mostly TV, but there really wasn't a lot of representation. And recently I've seen like a lot, like in the podcast space, movies, music, you name it. There's a lot more Latinos growing in, I'm speaking about US media specifically, because obviously, they've been popping in their own countries, but I think that's really cool and inspirational, especially to the youth that's looking up to people and trying to be like, oh, okay, I could be a podcaster too, or, I could be an artist too. I think representation's important, and I think it's pretty cool. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I like it. I like seeing a lot more of our skin color, on like news anchors, for instance. I've seen a lot more like Latino news anchors, especially like through TikTok. I don't know if you guys follow. There's this guy named.
Oh, I know the guy that looks like George Lopez.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about. I can't remember it off the top of my head.
Is he the one that like when you're scrolling by, like he's like doing a stand up? I think it's from Netflix. He's like a Mexican. He talks kind of.
Oh no, this is
another
kid.
Then
it's a different.
He blew up on the guy we're talking about. Blew up on TikTok and he like got pretty big on it. Yeah, man. But see, that's another example right there.
Exactly.
See, we're just pulling them out.
Well, it's dope to see that like all across the border, like seeing like Latinos, Hispanics, whatever you want to call it, like across the border and like in all like different platforms, whether it be music, podcasting, like photo and video. Like we were talking about yesterday, like with Brown Bag podcast. It's a podcast with 3 Mexicans, right? It's Duno, Rosecrans Vix, and Letty. And Letty's a radio host from LA. Like she's big in radio and stuff. And they came together and started a podcast. And it just got put up on Spotify, I think, like on like one of the Latin, like #1 Latin podcasts to like watch.
Oh, cool.
That's dope.
Yeah, they just got that, I think, like a couple of days ago. Like they announced it. And then seeing Duno now on No Jumper, right? Like that's like a big like music platform, and like just seeing like what he brings to the table with that whole crew. Like he's introducing them to like Spanish music. He's having more Spanish artists, like people just like in different like lanes, I think he had like MC Magic in one recently, and then he did an interview with Adam with a Mexican artist, rapper, Sad Boy Loco, and like in that interview, they're talking about corridos, which Adam has like no idea about, but like
Right.
he's teaching him like this is what it is. It's kind of like it's basically like what trap music is in English, like rap, but it's like with narcos and stuff. Like it's pretty much the same thing, just in Spanish. And like Adam's like, oh man, like that's a market to tap into, you know. So like it's those
Yeah.
little things that are starting to like now like we're like they're coming up to the surface. We're crossing over now, and it's dope. I
That's
like
cool,
seeing
man.
that. Yeah.
I like seeing that, man. I like seeing the representation. for
Yeah, it's
sure.
cool. I think for me, what I really like is just hearing people talk about like things that I'm only used to talking about with like my family or my close friends, but seeing it like on a podcast or on TV, you know, like
yeah.
Mhm.
like you mentioned, you know, now that people are talking about like corridos or like
Yeah.
you know, good Mexican food or kind of like little sayings in Spanish that we always say
or
to
like
live
little
by.
stories, or like, man, I relate to that. Like when they're saying like, oh, remember like back in the day, like you'd come home and your mom had like this, or like this is what you guys would eat, this is what you guys would do, this is
Yeah.
the sayings, like just the culture, man. Like just like seeing it like put up like that now, like it's nice.
Yeah, when
It's
you
nice
come
seeing
home
that.
on a hot summer day and your mom's cooking pozole, it's like 100
Yeah.
degrees out.
It's just that
eating,
joke,
a
like,
hot
why would you
stew.
eat that? But it's like you still eat it. It's good, you know.
Yeah.
After a
just how it
hangover,
is.
some like birria, some like
Yeah, and going back to just inspiring the youth, because you know we are Untapped Potential one, all
Yeah.
about, you know, inspiring people and stuff and telling stories. I just think it's cool because like young kids could watch, you know, podcasts like that, even like this, and like, you know, you hear these stories, you hear people speaking like being their true selves, right? Like
Yeah.
speaking with their accents a little bit and like talking about, you know, like stories of their upbringing. It's just like inspirational. I feel like, you know, kids could look up to that and see themselves in us.
Yeah.
So
No,
I
I
think that's cool.
definitely agree with you. It's
Mhm.
nice, man.
Yeah.
Been a long
Yeah.
time coming.
Yeah,
Well,
and we're part of this wave too, you know.
Yeah.
So
Take
Yeah,
yeah,
it's cool.
you guys are a great example of that.
three
You guys are
Latinos
doing
right here having a quick little conversation, you know.
yeah, racially ambiguous looking
Oh, for
Latinos.
sure.
Well, except for you, Chris. I mean, you have a darker skin tone than me.
I've been told though that I've been mistaken for like a native? Like
Oh,
a
yeah.
Filipino. I think my girl's mom at one point thought I was like black mixed with Asian. It's I don't know. It's I was like, what?
Yo, I get everything except for Mexican, but you know what I get a lot? Russian.
Really?
And
I can see
Ukrainian.
that.
Russian
It's a
and
fair
Ukrainian.
screen.
I actually had two separate instances where a Ukrainian lady will come up to me and start talking to me and like
Really?
You're like, what?
her language, and I'm just like,
Huh?
I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about.
That's crazy,
I've
man.
never had.
Yeah.
Huh.
And it surprised me because I had heard it a lot, but once it was to the point where someone was coming up to me and speaking the language, I was like, okay, this is real. Like they're not just saying this. Because
What
it's
was your
crazy.
response? What'd you tell her?
I told her I don't know what you're saying.
And what'd she say?
She said, "Oh, sorry," and just kind of like walked away, kind of embarrassed.
Damn. I wonder if low key you understood her, what she was actually saying.
Yeah, I wonder if she was asking like a question related to something. Maybe she
Yeah.
she didn't speak very good English and she was looking for someone to help her with something. And I was just like, because she kind of just like said, "Oh no, sorry," and just walked away. So I was like, okay, I'm not gonna be weird.
Dang. That's wild, man.
Yeah, but
well, speaking about stories, man, I know it's when this episode comes out, it's gonna be in the middle of October. And obviously spooky season, man. And so I think this would be a good opportunity for us to talk about any real life ghost stories that we have.
Oh, that's a good one.
Do you have any crazy
I have
little experiences?
I have a lot, like not myself necessarily, but like I have family, like so my grandma's house, right? It's like a hot spot.
Oh,
It's like
okay.
the spot for ghosts, like recent, like years, like they've had priests come there and bless the
Oh,
house. Type
damn.
things. Like I can
Oh, wait, before you get into it, we're
Yeah.
gonna have to turn down the lights real
yeah, let's
quick.
get the mood right out
Let's
here.
do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like my grandma's house, right? Like it's been known, like they've had like a priest come, and I remember when the priest came and everything. But if, like for example, one story, I have a family that was traveling from Ohio, came down here, and during that time, so like they're Christian, and like they at that time they were like kind of like trying to like guide one of my uncles into a better path. He was kind of like doing bad, getting into like, you know, situations and stuff. And during that time, like when that was happening, they're like reading the Bible like every night, like things started kind of like, you started hearing things, seeing things, like, you know, the baby rockers.
Oh yeah.
They had just put one up, and they didn't have like the batteries on there. And as they're like talking to him, like we're all in the living room, and they're telling, like they're just reading the Bible, and like you just like from a distance you start seeing someone noticed it. I think it was my aunt. Like it starts moving, and like there's no breeze in the house.
That's crazy.
Like the middle of summer, you know, and it's just like, or winter, I mean. There's no doors are open or nothing, and like it just starts rocking back and forth faster and faster. all of a sudden you just hear their baby, which is down the hall, crying. And so she goes and like gets the baby, and as she's walking back down the hall, so like the way that the hall's set up, when you're walking down, like when you're walking down the hall on the left, there's a bathroom, and then there's 2 rooms, right? Two bedrooms, and then as you go down, there's like a laundry room, and then my grandparents' room, and the baby was all the way to the end, to the right, in my grandparents' room. So she went in there, grabbed the baby, and as she's walking down, like my uncle, I guess, sees her get like shoved into the bathroom, and the door closes. I shit you not, like she's just screaming in there, and like he's trying to get in. He gets in there, and like the door closes behind him, like he gets kind of like shoved in there as well. And from the outside in, like you can just hear them screaming, and it lasted for like I think like a couple seconds, but they said that it felt like minutes. And what they said, like when they were in the bathroom, the lights were flickering on and off, and they heard scratching on the door. Yeah.
Wait,
like
from the outside they heard scratching?
So they were on the inside, right? But they heard scratching in the bathroom, and the lights flickering. But from the outside, my uncles that were like seeing that happen, because they were trying to get the door open too. Yeah. All they were hearing was just them screaming.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So like that happened, and they were kind of spooked. And then I had another instance where I had another aunt who was babysitting one of my cousins. She was like at the time like 4 or 5, and we have a basement. So like keep in mind that hall. Right at the end, there's a door, and it leads down to the basement. And when you go down to that basement, on the right they have a whole other room, and on the other side it's like storage. There was other family living there downstairs, right? Wow. So it was like I had like 2 uncles living there, another uncle with his family. So it was like a pretty yeah, it's a big family. And they're watching the little girl. One of my aunts is watching the little girl, and the only people in the house is her, another cousin that was in one of the rooms upstairs kind of playing Xbox, and the little girl who was supposed to be sleeping on the other room in the hall, right? So my aunt is kind of like, she like sees like the basement door open, and she sees like a little girl run down. So she thinks it's my little cousin that's just playing around, like she woke up from the nap, and she goes all the way down. And she still recalls to this day, like when like she felt something was wrong, and she's going down to the basement. She feels like kind of like just cold thing on her neck. And she's walking down. She like turns the corner to the right, and like I said, that was a whole room, so it's like a whole bed and everything. And she calls her by her name. She's like, Giselle, like, why, like, come back up here, like, why are you playing this and that? And like the little girl, like she said, that all you could see were like her eyes, like she had like a blanket over, and like her eyes were kind of like glossy. And she kept calling her by her name. She's like, Giselle, like, come on, like stop playing. And then like she wasn't moving, like she wasn't even blinking. And then after like a couple seconds, she just like runs upstairs and just screaming. And my uncle, which is the little girl's dad, he's like, what the fuck was wrong? This and that. So I just saw Giselle, like she was being weird. Like, I'm scared, this and that. And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, Giselle's sleeping. He's like, what do you mean? She's like, she's downstairs. Like, no, she's not. He's like, I saw her. He's like, she's sleeping up in the bedroom. And like, she goes and opens the door. She's like, she's right there. Like, what are you talking about? She's like, what the fuck did I just see then? Like, this and that. I have a lot, man. It's crazy. Like, yeah, it's bad.
What do you think happened in that house, or how old is that house?
So get this. This house is very, very old. I have an aunt that was working with the city council at the time, and like you're able to get public records, right?
Nice.
So she went down there and got like records from the house, and just trying to see like who has lived there in the past. And mind you this, like what's weird about it, when my grandparents moved there back in like 2002, I think, well, the last people that were living there left everything, like furniture and stuff like that. So like they didn't really take anything.
Creepy.
That's super red flag. And the weirdest thing about it too is that like when that basement I'm telling you about on the left side, where all the storage is at, there was more furniture down there, and they found like a photo book, and it had pictures of like whoever was living there before, like their family and stuff like that, and like pictures of a little kid, a little girl, and there was like at the end like a little Ziploc bag that had like teeth. Which is super weird, yeah. And I guess my aunt found out that two little kids died.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Damn.
After I heard that, I was like, yo, that's that little boy or little girl that they keep seeing, yeah. But I've had different family members like see different things.
Oh man.
That's just crazy.
Like as far as for me too, an experience that like I experienced there one time. By that time, like my grandparents were living in the house. It was one of my uncles. That same uncle that I told you like back in the day was doing kind of bad. He ended up like taking over that house. And he has a family too, and at the time he just had a little boy. And it was during around like the Christmas time, like December. We're wrapping gifts, and it's literally him, myself, his girlfriend, and the little boy. But the little boy was sleeping on the couch, so we're like kind of like facing the hallway, like. So to say like the hallway's like right here, right? We're facing each other like this, and we're just wrapping gifts and talking. So we're both seeing like on the side of our eye, like kind of like the hall. And like I knew at the same time we had seen something. I saw like a black shadow like at the end of the hall, like go from like the storage to like where my grandparents' room used to be, which is now like his room, obviously him and his wife's room. And I saw it, and like we looked at each other. We didn't really say anything, but we kind of knew like, yo, this kind of feels weird. And at the same time, like his little boy like got up, like slept walked right past us, and then just collapses. And then like we wake him up, like, what's wrong? He's like, oh, like what's going on? Like was kind of just sleepwalking within that same same time that everything happened. And after that, I was like, yo, I'm out, bro. I'll catch you another day.
Oh man,
But,
where's this at? Bremerton?
No, I'm Bridgeport, Washington.
Bridgeport. Yeah. That's where you're from.
Yeah.
That's
crazy. Wild.
But I'll pass it on to you.
So you believe in ghosts?
I don't know how I feel about it, man, because like I do and I don't. Like I said, that was like one experience that I had. I haven't had anything crazy like where I've seen something like outright, like haven't heard anything really. But like just hearing from like my family side, like there's been a lot of things. Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
What about you, Chris?
Well, shit, man. Well, real quick before we get into it, what do you think happens when like people die? God's like, you can either get into heaven or you can just fuck with people down here. Like, what's the like? Why do we experience this stuff? You know?
The deep question.
I don't know, cause like when they say when people die, like you're just like all of energy, or like your soul or whatever, and like I don't know, cause there's so many stories like about like just ghosts, people like hearing things, experiencing things. Like I don't know. I really don't know.
I feel like we haven't quite figured it out yet, you know, like we still got so much to learn, you know, and you don't really know until
or you think it's that person's like, man, I'm not done yet, like not ready to go yet.
From what I've like read and seen, like, you know, listening to crime stuff is like or like scary story stuff is like that it's a spirit that's just like not ready to rest, you know, or like something really bad happened to them and they're still finding like peace. They're trying to find their peace.
Interesting. All right, well, I got a story for y'all. So I was 14 years old, and my grandpa passed away in Mexico, and I was pretty close with him. He has a house in Michoacan, in Quilpan. It's a small town there. And we were there like a couple of weeks before he passed away, because he had cancer like all over his body, and he couldn't move. Like, it's probably the worst pain I've ever seen anybody in, where like literally like if you moved a finger, he would be like in excruciating pain. And he was like just in bed rest and like not bed rest, what's it called? Hospice. Yeah, he was just in hospice for months until they took him away. And anyway, when he passed, you know, a couple of days later, we were still staying in the home, obviously, because, you know, we were getting things ready and everything all prepared. And the way that the like house is laid out is just a 1-story home, and towards the back, before you get into the porch in the backyard, there's the master bedroom. There's the hallway and the master bedroom's on one side, and then 2 bedrooms on the other side. I was staying in one of the bedrooms right across from the master bedroom, and the master bedroom is where he was in hospice, and that's where he passed away. And each of the rooms has kind of like how we have in the back door, with like a big frosted like glass.
Oh right, yeah.
Inside of the home, like each bedroom door has like frosted glass, and it's just a door essentially, and so you can kind of make out like shadows behind it, but you know, you can't tell like who it is. It's frosted. And so it was a couple of days after he passed, and I'm sleeping in bed, and every time before I go to bed, I make sure to lock the door, because I don't like people like waking me up, you know.
Yeah, I feel like
I lock the door and make sure it's locked. I went to sleep, and then in the middle of the night, this must have been like 2 o'clock in the morning, because I checked my phone, and I think it was 2 o'clock in the morning, and I just hear like somebody like jiggling the doorknob, like really loudly. I was like, who is it? I thought it was my uncle. Because my uncle like used to like stay home, and there'd be like people passing through the home and stuff, but not at night. And so I just heard like the jiggling of the door, and my mom was sleeping in another room on the opposite side of the house, and so I was pretty sure it wasn't her, but I yelled out. I was like, Mom, no response, and I couldn't tell, like, because it was dark, right? I couldn't tell who was like behind the frosted glass. And it continued to jiggle for like 2 minutes, and until it finally stopped all of a sudden. And I was like really freaked out because nobody responded to me, and the door was jiggling, and I was like, somebody might be trying to like break into the house or like break into this room or something. And I was 14 at the time. I didn't know what the hell was going on, right? And so I just stayed quiet. And then like less than like 30 seconds later, this bright white light comes from the ceiling and just consumes like the frosted glass, like a bright white light. Like, you know how these studio lights emit like kind of like a yellowish hue? That's how like the rest of the home has like the yellowish hue lights. That's how the rest of the home was wired up. There was no light bulb outside of that door that produced like bright light. And it was just bright white light. And then the doorknob started shaking again. And I was like, oh shit, what the fuck is going on here? And then almost as if like somebody turned off the lights and stopped. And that was it. Like I didn't hear it again. Nobody. And I was calling out to people. I was like, Mom. Nothing.
And that's when it's eerie, like when no one responds back. It's like, dude, like that was
right.
And y'all booked the first flight back to the States, right?
Never again. Bro, I couldn't sleep for like an hour after that. I was like frozen in bed. I was like, oh, I couldn't even get up to like see if the door was closed or whatever.
Yeah,
so
at
anyway,
that point, blanket over my face. Just,
bro.
Just hope for the best.
I was like, fuck, man. And anyway, so I ended up going back to sleep like an hour later. And when I woke up in the morning and I went to the door, I noticed that the doorknob was still locked. And so I was like, okay, like I'll lock this door. But then when I pulled it, the door just opened. So it was locked, but like it shook enough to the point where if somebody would have just pushed it open, it would have opened. But yeah, man, I think something's out there, bro. There's a next level to all this.
There has to be.
Especially with the bright light, man. That's crazy. All right, well, man, do I have a story for y'all?
Strobe light.
If I don't blind myself. All right, so you guys know, I think some of the audience might know by now, but I grew up in a small town of Othello, Washington, here on the east side of Washington State. And I lived on a hill called Radar Hill for about 2 years when I was like, I want to say elementary school. So I was probably like 9, 10, let's just say. And the moment we moved into that house, I always felt like I was being watched. And I always told my mom that. And I told my brothers too. I was like, I feel like I'm being watched. Because I spent a lot of time alone there. Because I would always be the first one to get home from school. And I'd be like, my room, okay, so it's like a split level home, kind of like this one actually. Where in the front it's 1 story, but in the back it's like 2 stories. And my room was in the basement.
Ooh.
But there was also a big living room in the basement. And that's where I hung out. That's where I had like consoles and like, that's where I hung out. And especially in that basement, I felt a weird vibe. And
it's
like,
always the basements, bro.
Yeah. And you know, like when you shower, like sometimes you feel like you're being watched. Well, actually, I realized that's probably not a normal thing, but in that house, I felt that all the time.
You know when there's a camera in the bathroom?
So showering, bro, you feel like someone's watching.
I'd be showering, and I just felt like a presence on the other side of the curtain. And I'd always be like opening the curtain while I showered in that house. And I realized after I moved out of there, I didn't feel that anywhere else. Okay, so this gets really crazy. So back to the fact that this place is named Radar Hill. But it used to be like a military base. The military base is still there, actually. It's like I think I'm not sure what it is. Maybe like an Air Force, like it's called. They had like radar stuff for like World War II.
Okay.
And so there was a big military presence up there. And yeah, so there apparently maybe people died there or something. And so long story short, once we moved out, I asked my mom finally, because I kept trying to get it out of her, like, you know, this place, was that place haunted? Did you ever see anything? Because she always plays it off. And my mom, if you know her, she's pretty serious person for the most part. She is not the type to lie. she's the type to like try to say like she'd come up with any excuse other than she saw a ghost.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, when I asked her after we moved out, she told me, she's like, yeah, I try to not tell you this, but one time she was just cleaning the house. She said she was alone, and she looked out the window. We had this really big window in the upstairs living room, and we had a really big yard. And she said she saw a man dressed in military uniform, but that he was kind of like, he didn't look real was the best way she could explain it. That he
Wow.
was almost like kind of see-through, and that his face didn't look like a healthy human, you know?
Huh.
So she saw it outside of the window, like
yeah,
she was
just standing in our yard staring at her. And that she like panicked and like looked away and looked back, and he wasn't there anymore.
that.
That's crazy.
And so that coupled with the fact of all the stuff I had heard, and stuff would be thrown in that place all the time too. Like I'd be alone and I'd hear like
Damn.
one time I actually saw something like be flung like across the living room while I was there. And I remember I ran out.
That
and
just
I
gave me
called-
goosebumps.
I called my mom. I was like,
Yeah.
somebody threw something, like, I don't know, somebody's in the house. And I just kicked it outside. I just stood out there. But it was so weird because even though I was outside, I felt like I was being watched.
Yeah.
It was a weird place to live at.
Have you, real quick, since we're on this, have you guys ever experienced stuff like, aside from seeing it in real time, but like, you know, like EMPs and stuff, like things like this, how they say like if there's ghosts, you can catch it on like sound and stuff,
Oh, yeah,
or like on
yeah.
photos, right? There was also a story that I have with like an aunt at the time when she was in high school.
This guy.
So like because I'm looking at that doll, right? So like they had done like back in like film, you do like the kind of like the disposable cameras.
Yeah.
They took a photo of her. She was just kind of posing, and like my grandma had dolls. And in one shot, the doll's just like standing how it is. And in the second shot, the head had moved.
Oh,
Yeah, those little things like that are so creepy too, bro.
that's crazy, man.
You guys have
I
never
wonder-
like experienced anything like EMPs, like nothing in like sound, like that you play something over and you hear something.
Nah,
No,
bro. I don't know.
not yet. We'll have to listen to this podcast
Yeah.
after it's done.
Yeah, we scrub through the audio and it's just
Right.
It's Ghost having an episode, bro, just talking.
Change the laundry.
Reminds me of a scary movie.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, man, that's funny.
That's crazy though, man. I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
There's a
shoot.
lot.
That's. I mean, this is a good ending to wrap up an October episode. On,
Yeah.
man. I
Yeah,
really
for
liked
real.
it. I think we should do this for every episode.
Yeah,
Get
that's
everyone's
cool,
At least the
man.
ones in
experience.
October.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's
For
cool,
sure.
man. Well, thank you, man, for stopping by Visual
Thank
Subject.
you guys for having me, man.
It's always
Yeah, bro.
a
Appreciate
pleasure
you pulling
having
up,
you.
buddy.
And yeah, if you guys like this episode, like the video, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and let us know in the comments what you guys want to see next. If you guys want to see more of this stuff, or if you guys have other ideas for new videos that we can do, let us know. And thank you once again for joining us. We'll catch you next time.
Peace.
Peace.
Wait, guys. I got one more ghost story for y'all. So this is another story. It's not in the same house. It's in a different house, different. I have a big family, like I said, cousins. And so they're sleeping one night. They just had a kid. Kid's probably like 2-3 months already, and they're in their bedroom sleeping, and they have like their desk with their like TV literally right across from them. So like when they go to bed, she put her phone to charge where the TV's at. She wakes up in the morning and her phone's on the ground. She picks it up, and I think she was just gonna take a picture of the baby or whatever. And you know, like when you open up the camera roll or like just the photo, it has like a little square, like the last thing you took a picture of. And she thought it was like it's just dark, so she like clicked it, and it's a video. She plays the video, and like her phone was literally like floating, like someone recorded them.
I'm out.
It just pans, it goes to them and then to the baby, and then the phone just falls.
That's just crazy.
Yeah.
Did it fall flat, or does the camera point up?
It kind of just like, it's literally like if the phone's floating and then it just like it's like in motion and it just falls like onto the ground. Yeah.
Damn,
That's
man.
It
terrifying.
was like a 10-second clip, I think. Yeah.
Wow, man.
That's scary.
Man.
Yeah.
There's something out there, bro. What a creepy world we live in.
Man, you got a lot. I think you should be like,
Yeah, I
what's
think
the
I'm
word for it?
gonna-
Like a poltergeist or something
yeah.
like
I
that?
think I'm gonna get a limpia or something. Just
Yeah.
have my mom, like,
Yeah.
get an egg and just.
They're gonna have to bring like, you know, that Costco size egg carton for you, bro. They're
throw
gonna
'em
have to
at
do
me.
all of them.
baptize me in eggs.
One for each ghost story.